Hi, this is Josh from Drew's Canine Academy. We are live. It's been a while since I've been on here, and today we're going to be talking about movement. Whoever controls movement is the leader of the pack. Now, I appreciate you guys checking this video out. I know it's been probably quite a time since I've done something like this, but today we're going to talk about how if we control movement in our pack, we are the leader. Just to keep it simple for everybody. So, it's a concept that I remind myself of because I get new dogs all the time that come in that are crazy. Thanks for joining, everybody. It's good to see you this morning. It's been a long time since I've been on here. So today we're talking about movement and how if we can successfully control the movement in our pack, then we can be the leader. So whoever is controlling the movement in the house, whoever's controlling the movement on the walk, out in the environment, is leading the pack. Now, thank you ACC dogs. It's a surprise for me too. How is the audio before I go on? Can somebody just let me know? I might be a little rusty at this because it's been a while, but the best way to do it is to just go for it. But so when I get a new dog in, the dog's out of control. The last thing that we have is control over the dog's movements. It goes where it wants. If it can't go where it wants, because it's, oh, thank you, the audio is good. If it can't go where it wants, it's frustrated, right? So if I put the dog on a leash and put it on the door real quick so I can go get the tools, this dog's, bucking on the leash, whining, barking. This is just about every dog that comes in. Because they're used to having free will of movement. They're not used to living in a pack where there's a leader who says, hey, don't move right now, or hey, move over here, right? Controlling the movement of the pack. Now, how do we go about doing this? It is technically simple to understand. Maybe not easy to implement, but easy to understand. If we teach this dog who is out of control, recall, then we can start controlling movement. Recall, a non-negotiable recall that works every time, is the first step to controlling movement, which will lead to becoming the leader of the pack, okay? So if we teach a dog recall on the e-collar, which most people are familiar with right about now because they've been following our page and other accounts for years now. This stuff's been out for years now. That e-collar recall is going to be the foundation of everything. If I can say, dog, come here, and it does, no matter the situation, well, then I'm starting to control movement. And if I have a recall, this is where my mind was blown when I first realized this as a trainer. If I have a recall, I have a stay, right? Imagine if I have the dog come to me, the recall, the dog tries to leave, it's another correction and recall. The dog can leave if it wants to, but I'm just going to correct them and recall them to let them know, when I recall you, the only time you're allowed to go back out and have freedom is if I release you. So therefore I get a stay. I can easily get a recall and then a stay. That's the foundation. With a recall and a stay, I can say, come over here and hold still. Now, is that the end of our relationship and our training? No, but this is the beginning of creating a follower. Because now I can put them in any situation and I can let them explore their options behaviorally, meaning, oh, you're a reactive dog? Let's take you outside and present a dog. Show me what behavioral choices you're going to make when this dog comes walking down the street. Okay, you start barking and lunging. That's wrong. Correct. Recall back to me. Settle down. Reset. Right? So I can start, if I can control the movement, if I can say, come over here, hold still and relax, that was the wrong choice. Now I can let the dog back out and say, try another choice. Try another response until the dog chooses one that I approve of. It allows us to put dogs in situations where they can make choices, be told it was right or wrong, and reset. If we can do this, which most owners cannot do this. Already, we're at a point that most people cannot do. They can't recall the dog, and they can't get the dog to stay. Throw it into the real world, and it's not happening. So they can't control movement. They can't control the dog's movements. So if we can start shaping. We can start shaping our dog. Now let's go to the living room. Let's go into our house. Let's get off from the walk and go into our house and see this practically. Most houses, when you walk into a house with dogs in it, The first thing you notice is nobody has control over the movement. That's the first thing you notice. You say, knock, knock, knock. Woo, 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 woo. You come in, and what do you see is all the dogs running towards you, and behind them is a human saying, it's okay, they're friendly. But what the human really means is, I can't stop them. They're not going to bite you. I hope you like dogs. They might jump on you. They might lick you. They're going to do their thing because I can't control their movements. I can't tell them to stop. I can't tell them to hold still. I can't tell them to come here and lay on that bed. Okay, so let's bring it to a dog pack. Let's take humans out of it, and let's say what dogs do to each other. Why this is valuable. Think about the most important thing to a dog is to know that they can have access to the resources that come into the environment. Every dog, the reason why there's hierarchical disputes is because they want to figure out the pecking order so that we all know that when new resources come into the environment, we know who gets first access, right? Top dog gets first access, okay? And then it trickles down. Dogs do this with each other. If a nice piece of steak comes into the room and is in the center of the room and there's 5 dogs and they're all hungry, one of them's eating more than the rest. That's the natural world. And he's going to do that by controlling movements. He's going to do that by saying, don't come any closer. Don't come near this thing, right? Or if I have to submit you as the dominant dog because you did come towards it, don't move, right? Now that I've submitted you and I've given you a little bite and I'm holding you down, don't move. I'm going to walk away now. Dogs control movement. Humans restrain movement. Okay? Oh, you control yours. Good, Sly. Some people do. And if you have control over your dog's movements, you are ahead of the game. If you could say sit and the dog sits, wow, that's impressive. If you can say come and the dog comes, wow, that's impressive. You can say lay down and the dog lays down, wow, that's impressive. But if we just go to, let's keep it less specific. Let's just say stay, right? Yes, I'm going to leave this live up. I'm going to try to leave this live up. Sometimes they don't upload and they just go bye-bye, but I'm going to try. So, again, controlling the movements. Whoever controls the movements controls the pack. So we need to concern ourselves with that. So when we're sitting at our home, in our living room, and our dog, like it goes down to little things like this. I'm sitting in my room with my dog, Riggins, just to keep the maintenance of the pack, the hierarchy. If he starts picking himself up in this quiet room and starts pacing all around, click, clack, 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 Joe, check out the kitchen, go check out this bed, he's in trouble with me. Because that's how I keep my pack. Here's one of the underlying rules. You can't just pick up, raise your energy, and go pacing the house. Why? Because if you can do that, then it's your house. And if you think it's your house, then you're going to pee in this house, and you're going to surf the counters, and you're going to bark at the door, and you're going to do this. So my dogs understand that I love you. You're part of my pack. I'm here for you. But this is my house, and everything's mine. Okay? I will share with you. I will give you food. I will give you comforts, but it's mine. And the dog understands just by the way you interact with them. So controlling movement, guys, is key. It is what you should concern yourself with when you first get a dog and you want to get the relationship right. You want to put them in situations where you talk to them about their movements. Okay? Let's read some comments. I train Mind in Germany and hands commands together with e-collar if I need to use the e-collar. Perfect. You want to know why the e-collar is great? Because you can correct your dog from a distance. Well, it's so good for so many reasons. The e-collar is a brilliant tool because before the e-collar, myself included, I was using dog whispering techniques a lot, which means I have to use my body, which, it's all cool to learn that stuff, to be able to interact with a pack of dogs and hold your own in the hierarchy and create a hierarchy and be able to correct them without needing tools. Great, 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 great. However, the e-collar allows us some magical abilities that we never had before. It blows dogs' minds. They can't believe that you can actually hold them accountable without being next to them. Once they learn all this, they understand, oh, my human can give me, it can correct me from way across the field or on the other side of the house, it changes the way the dog treats you. So the e-collar gives me the ability to kind of stay calm with my body language. I don't need to square up on a dog. I don't need to go do the touches like I used to. I can simply shush the dog and give a correction from across the room. When a dog realizes that you can do this, it changes the game. Because a lot of dogs will play the game where it's like, can't get me, I'm too fast, can't get me, and they know that you can't get them. The e-collar is like, I don't even have to move. So that's one beauty of it. But also, the tone recall on the e-collar, I cannot tell you how amazing this is. There is a sound where it will make a consistent sound. It'll go beep. After that beep, if the dog doesn't recall, we can correct. Dogs learn this very quick. So movement, that's what I'm going to kind of go after in this one. If you have one dog or you have a pack, you have to be able to control the movements. And now let's get to the other part. I was like, well, Josh, this sounds great. I'm going to start controlling my dog's movements. I'm going to start concerning myself with my dog's movements. Another example is if my dog and I are on a walk and this dog is pulling me, and we're going for a walk, but the dog's got maybe it's not even a bad puller, but it's just constant tension. It's just constantly choosing kind of where to go, nose to the ground. That dog is controlling your movements. And the only way that you can hope to control this dog's movements is by restraining them. So there's restraining and then there's training. Restraining would be, I have the leash, we're attached, now I'm going to pull you where we need to go. That's not, yes, technically you are controlling your dog's movements, but I'm talking about the relationship that you have. You have enough influence to control your dog's movements and behaviors. Now, again, well, that sounds good. How do I get that relationship? Relationship is your past. All relationship is the history that you have together, the experiences that you have together. In the past, when I pulled my owner, they did this. In the past, when my owner said no, they didn't do anything about it afterwards when I didn't stop. Or whatever your relationship is. So that's why when we get a dog in, our own dog or a dog who's in for training, we look to build the relationship. We do it all kind of simultaneously. Yes, we're teaching the recall when we first get our hands on the dog so that we can start controlling movement and start teaching them what's right and what's wrong. But in doing so, we are forming a hierarchy. Because if I can make a sound and hold the dog accountable for a recall, that dog is going to realize that we have a level of control that they're not used to. Now, what happens? What happens when you start taking control over a dog who doesn't want to give it up is they will fight for their free will. And that's where, and listen, this is where everyone says, oh, here's the thing. When I work with any dog that comes in, I will start teaching them recall, sure. I'll start controlling their movements. I'll start doing the pack thing, sure. What's going to happen? Is the dog just going to say, oh, this guy wants to control my movements. Here you go. Here is a follow. I'm just going to be your follower. No. Why? Dogs aren't designed that way. Dogs are designed, if they're in a pack, to figure out the pecking order. How do you do that? A series of let's say, conflicts that they go through to see who is more competent in dealing with the situations. Like if, again, the steak's in the middle of the room, there's 5 dogs, they're all hungry. One of them is eating more than the rest. One of them might even eat it all. Why? If they are an experienced pack together and they have history together, you might see that steak hit the room and 4 dogs just leave it and 1 dog go up on it because they already know that guy gets first access. We want to be that dog to our dogs. We want to be that figure to our dogs. They are capable of following a human. That's why we love them. They are capable of forming a pack with humans. They are capable to listen to a human. They are capable to see the human as higher up in this hierarchy, which means if they see you as leader, higher up, they will allow you first access to all the resources. Why is that such a big deal? I'll tell you why it's a big deal. Resources are everything. It's not just food. It's not just the couch. It's also the guests that come in the door. It's also the people that are around us because they're resources. A resource is anything the dog needs or wants, be it food, be it a toy, be it a certain space that they like to relax on the couch. Also, another resource is the ability to choose how to deal with a situation. So if we're sitting in a quiet room and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, the leader gets the resource of deciding how we respond to the situation. The dog who pipes up and says, I'm going to choose how to respond to the situation, gets in trouble by the leader. You see it with dogs all the time. You see my dog attacked my other dog out of nowhere for no reason. Never the case, ever, never has been, never will be. It's never out of nowhere. It's inexperienced eyes who don't see it coming, okay? So if like two dogs are in the yard and all of a sudden there is a person on the other side, like a UPS person, and it's sending these dogs into, barking in crazy town. And then all of a sudden, one of them goes up to start to deal with it, and the other one goes and chases that one and attacks it. We're like, what's going on? The redirect. Now, listen, a million different things could be going on, but one of the things that does happen is if a dog tries to deal with the situation, that is access to a very valuable resource, how to deal with the thing that's coming. That dog's getting punished by the other dog by going and trying to deal with the situation. This is how dogs keep themselves in check, the pack in check. Not only do you get access to resources that are valuable like food and water and toys, you also get access to decide how to deal with any given situation if you prove your position in the pack. Movement. That dog messed up. The dog who went and charged the gate got corrected by the other dog because he went and charged the gate, and it's not that dog saying, you don't do that. I choose how to deal with the situation. The beauty of this is we can be that to our dogs. So if somebody knocks on our door and our dog says, and tries to charge the door, I don't necessarily have to punish you because you barked and I don't like the bark, or because you went to jump on them and I don't like the... We're not even there yet. You're trying to decide how to deal with a situation. That's why you're in trouble. Because if you're under me as follower, that is not your role. You're stepping on my toes. You're stepping on my role. You heard a noise in the environment, and then all of a sudden, all this movement towards the noise is what's getting punished. You can't just free will lift up and go check something out in my pack. Or in any pack, really, there are consequences. Okay, so let's go to some of the comments. Absolutely, 100%, especially when I give commands to go ahead and when I need them to come back and when I need them to come. And of course, you can tell your dog, hey, go check this out, of course, but it's permission-based. I miss these early morning Josh Talks. I appreciate it, I really do. I miss them too, that's why I'm on here. And it's... I was a little nervous getting on here because it's been so long. It's been so long. I mean, these are live. You never know, So Tracy says, if they start to delay the recall, this is a good one, with the tone, should you correct and tone again? Okay, this brings up a good question. Maintenance of your leadership position, okay? Maintenance. There is maintenance. It's not like you just become, so you have this beautiful day where you finally, you see the breakthrough with your dog, and you're like, this dog believes me, dog. This dog sees me as leader. Things are going good. There is maintenance to that. And the maintenance looks like this. Whatever rules you have, be it the commands or any rules that you taught your dog about the house, if they start messing with them, even if it's delaying a recall or hesitating to listen, the maintenance is correcting that. So if I'm recalling my dog and every time, boom, boom, they're coming, we're good. But then I notice Riggins, for example, and this happens to all dogs. All of a sudden, he's just not recalling fast. I had to ask 3 times. That makes me make a mental note. Let's go out and set up a situation so he learns. When I speak the first time, if you don't listen, it's not good for you. But if you do, it is good for you. So that tells me when I see my dog starting to delay, I go and work on it. And the way that I do it, as a trainer, I use my training methods. I typically do setups. So if I'm like, Riggins hasn't really been doing a great recall lately. Tomorrow, we're going to go out and I'm going to have a friend come by with a dog or something to distract him. Again, it's all set up. This isn't organic. It's not a surprise. I did this on purpose. The only one who thinks it's organic is the dog. Then I put him in this situation where he doesn't listen, and I correct him and I repeat it to refresh his memory. This is what happens when you don't listen. My expectation is you listen like this. I say, come, you turn around immediately. If you wait 5 seconds, we're in trouble, because in real life, if that was, maybe I didn't need it today, but I know one of these days I'm going to need it to be lickety-split. We keep our recalls lickety-split. Recall needs to be lickety-split every time. If I start seeing a dog lag, we're going to talk about it, because when we're out in the real world, my number one is recall. Recall's first. With a recall, we have a stay. Even if it's just at our feet, we have a stay, which means we're controlling movement, which means we can keep our dog out of trouble. Okay, I have an almost 2-year-old, and she used to head whip and run to me But she is now thinking and then comes not as quickly. Tracy, I know what you're talking about, and you know what you got to do. You got to go out there and look for those moments, set it up where you give your dog a command, and you see that moment where she's like, should I? The best way to do that is give your dog an ultimatum. Use a setup. Setups are controlled experiences. They're things that we control the environment. We control the triggers. So if I go out on a hiking trail, I'm going to go somewhere where I know there is nobody, and I'm going to control when somebody comes by. So, hey, okay, walk your dog by now. And then once my dog gets distracted on this distraction, be it a person or a dog, now we have an ultimatum. We have the person or the distraction, we have my dog, and then we have me. My dog sees the thing, and I say, hey, come. That gives us, that puts us, we did all that work to put us in that conversation. Now we're in a conversation where we're telling our dog to recall, and they're saying, I don't really want to, and now they get to see what happens with their choices. So setups, controlled experiences, is how you build a dog's belief system before we go out and just have a bunch of organic ones where we can't control the environment. The dog doesn't know their setups, though. That's the beauty of the species barrier, where they can't really understand our language. We can teach them some words and stuff, but they don't know that this is a setup. They don't know I just said, okay, I just texted Julie to walk around the corner with a dog. They just think it's a real life situation. You do enough of these, you're going to get your dog sharp, and you're going to have a good life. Now, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, you start seeing your dog do this again, where they're starting to, not listen as quickly. You do that again. It's maintenance, okay? It's maintenance, and it's part of being the leader. So how can you work on this? Our GSD is so pushy right now, and we need to reestablish some boundaries. Morgan, you are not alone. This live, I'll do more lives. This live was about movement, to show you the importance of it, right? I'm not showing you how to do it. I can talk about it. We do have videos on that. But let's talk about a pushy dog and talk about how we can implement this movement idea of controlling movement or have an influence over our dog's movement. One is the threshold. One big one is, of course, the recall and the stay. If you're having trouble with recall and stay, then you're going to want to put your dog in situations against setups where you're working on your dog's recall and stay, where you have ultimatums, triggers. You have things in the environment that make your dog say, I don't want to listen. So you have you, the dog, and the trigger, which is something you have control over, be it whatever it is, a knock on the door, if you're on the walk, somebody walking by, and you put your dog in these situations to let them make the wrong choice. Everybody gets hung up on trying to keep their dog successful. Wrong. I do this every day, 365. I've done it for almost a decade. I'm telling you right now, the way to make progress with a dog is show them what not to do first. Here, dog, I don't like when you do this. When a dog's being pushy, here's the biggest solution. Let's say the dog is being pushy. We're about to go out the door. I want to go out the door. I want to go out the door. I want to go out the door. 99.9% of people who are trying are going to try this way. They're going to try to correct the dog for trying to go out the door. Correct the dog for being pushy. You're not going out until I say. That only goes so far. And now that works if you've done this first. Let the dog make the mistakes. You want to be pushy? Okay, be pushy. Here we go. We're going out the door. You want to go out the door? All right. I'm not going to tell the dog to go out the door and then correct them. That'll just break trust. I'm going to set them up to make the mistake. I'm going to open the door up and pretend I'm not paying attention. And then before you know it, the dog goes out the door. There's the correction. Here's the recall. Let's try again. If you go at it this way, oh, you want to pull on the leash? Go ahead, pull on the leash. Don't tell, of course, you're not saying pull on the leash. You're just letting the dog do whatever. The dog goes to pull on the leash. You go, as soon as it's tense, they feel the collar tense because they're pulling. Correction on the e-collar. What happened? Because they'll turn around to you. Good boy. They go back out. They feel it get tense. Correction on the e-collar. We're not telling him not to do it. We're showing him what happens when he does the things that he wants to do that we don't want him to do. Oh, you want to go up on this dog on the walk? Go up on the dog on the walk. Correction, recall. What happens is it puts a bad taste in the dog's mouth. They don't want to do these things anymore. I don't want to rush out the door. I don't want to go up on dogs. I don't want to pull on the leash because I've been there, I've done that, and I didn't like the outcome. What happens is people get dogs and they try to keep them from doing the bad behaviors. Don't pull, stay back here. Don't go out the door, stay back here. What happens is you'll have a certain amount of success, but your dog will be frustrated because they never got to do the thing that's on their mind. I want to go over to that dog. I want to. No, heel. Okay, I'll heel, but I want to. So you got a dog who's whiny and fussy and just kind of pushy. They listen, but they're just kind of pushy because they want to. What if we did it the other way where we're just like, Oh, you want to run up on dogs? Let me do a bunch of experiences where you run up on dogs, get corrected firmly and recalled to the point where we go outside and you don't want to run up on dogs. And I can show you a dog and you'll say, I don't want to do that. And then I'll say, good. I love it when you think that you don't want to do that. We're literally changing the dog's beliefs. It's all about their belief system, especially when they're young. The worst thing we can do is grab a dog and restrain it and say, no, you're not allowed to go up on that dog. We don't go up on dogs. Or you need to sit. That's what people will do. Instead of teaching the dog the aversive that's tied to the behavior that we don't want them to do, we just give them an alternative behavior and correct them for breaking that. And then we wonder why our dog's whining. So if we're on a walk, a common thing is like, oh, here comes a dog, and my dog's reactive. I'm going to tell it to sit. It's never been able to go up on these dogs. It's never been allowed to, right? It's just been told, no, don't, stop pulling towards them and sit. That dog is going to be frustrated as frustrated can be. You know what's best for that dog? Let that dog go up on, do it in a setup, not in an organic. Do it in a setup where the dog makes these very common mistakes, gets corrected and recalled. A handful of these, the dog does not want to run up on dogs anymore. They don't want to do it. And if they don't want to do it, guess what's not there? The whining's not there, the fidgetiness is not there, the pushiness isn't there. So this goes with everything. Oh, you want to jump on counters. All right, I'm going to put a piece of pizza on the counter, and I'm going to leave the room, keep an eye on you, and as soon as you get on the counter, boom, correction. Instead of telling the dog, don't go on the counter, sit, I'm going to tell you what not to do first until you no longer want to do that anymore, and then I'm going to show you what to do instead. So for the walk, if you're reactive, go ahead and be reactive as much as you want to all these dogs. 5 times down the road, you're not going to want to do that. You're going to say, I don't want to do that anymore, but I don't know what to do. And I'm going to say, good, heel. This is what I want you to do. So a lot of people will, I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, but it's so true. We go and we try to show our dog what to do first. My style, it is, and it has been for as long as I can remember, you show the dog what not to do first. It gets that off their mind. It creates clarity. It creates respect. It creates relevance to you, and it creates attention where they don't know what to do because their ideas are failing. They literally look at you to say, what should I do? And you're like, good. I like that you're looking at me. Do this. Whatever it may be. By listening to you, they bypass all the corrections, and they realize listening to you is valuable. Doing my own thing is not. Which is what we want them to believe as puppies. Okay? It creates a follower. So, okay? Let's read some more. What about dogs that crash into things? They obey enthusiastically, but too much at times. So as we are recalling near the front door, they slam into the front door, running into the crate, crashing it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Let me tell you, by the way, great questions. Dogs who are crashing into things, dogs who are like hyper enthusiastic about the commands. All right. How you teach the commands is the association that the dog's going to have to the commands. Okay? So, this brings me to a point. If we train our commands like it's a party, this is very common. We got ourselves a puppy and we say, we're going to learn the commands. Yay, yay, yay. A, B, C, D. It's going to be fun. Here's a bag of treats. And we're going to learn sit, good, food, play. Down, good, food, play. Place, good, food, play. So we play a game to teach the dog the tricks, essentially, but the commands, right? Now we have our dog feeling like these commands is the state of mind. It's the party. Sit. Food. Good. Down. Good. Come. Run. See you. Sit. Good. Right? So they're working for... You've built that association to the command. So now you go to use it in real life and you're like, hey, I need you to come. That party mentality comes right back. Oh, this means this mentality, right? Another thing is if we're not putting in state of mind training into our commands, meaning state of mind training goes right along with the movement thing too. The taste, the flavor that you give your training is going to be associated with how they feel about the commands when you use them in public, when you use them in real life. So if I'm teaching all these commands like it's a party, we're playing, look how fun we're doing, you're learning, great. And then I go to use it in real life, it's going to be it's a party, we're having fun, it's great. That's not what commands should be. That's tricks. Fine. Tricks, do it. Roll over, fine, great. Do a cartwheel, fine, great. Commands, you're shooting yourself in the foot when you're trying to train it like it's a game, and then you're like, why is he acting like it's a game when I'm using it in real life? That's one of the big things I see. People are training their dogs like it's a fun game rather than like, I'm going to train all these 5 commands like it's a life lesson. So I'm going to teach you sit in the context of how I'm actually going to need it, with the vibe of how I'm actually going to feel when I need you, how I need you to feel when I say the word sit, down, place, come. And it's not the vibe of like, let's have a blast, it's going to be fun, look how great you're doing. Okay? It's like, and so there's that, how you treat it, how you train it, the vibe you put into how you train it is how they're going to associate it when you go to use it in real life. So it's a big game, it's going to be a big game. If you're not doing state of mind training, which means I need you to be calm unless offered otherwise, that's number 1 rule with state of mind training. You're calm and submissive unless I've said otherwise, which means if I say, okay, break, go have a blast, then you can pick your energy up and go crazy. But as soon as I go, shh, or I make any of the 5 commands, that is associated with calmness and compliance, because that's how it was trained. It was trained with the expectation to perform them calm and compliant. So if I am giving a dog a command and they're still kind of enthusiastic because they just got done playing, all I have to do is go, shh, right? And they'll calm down. Better yet, the stimulation on the e-collar from me in my training program means calm. That's another layer of association. The stim from the e-collar is associated with calmness in this program here. So if I correct my dog when they're when they're acting crazy, even in a command, if I just correct them again, they calm down here. Because that's a hard thing. It can be hard unless you really practice it, how to teach your dog to be calm post correction. But that's kind of like the thing. After every correction, you need to be calm. That's a dog whispering thing. That means if my dog's acting silly in the commands, I can correct and now they're calm. That's state of mind training. So watch some of our videos on that stuff, because a lot of people are training their dogs to do this stuff in Crazy Town, like for food and for tug and for all these games, which is just, listen, dogs control each other in a pack and they don't do any of that shit. They still play, but they don't trade play for compliance. They'll correct for non-compliance. But if they're in a good mood and everything's good and the situation calls for it, we'll play. There's been the big movement to like make everything play with dogs, and I think it's one of the biggest issues with dogs, that they become entitled, and then entitled dogs, they're usually the ones that are biting, and they're usually the ones that are insecure, and they're usually the ones that they don't listen. It's like, so listen, you got to learn to train your dog so that when we're teaching these commands, it's not like we're at a playground. It's like, today we're going to learn about life and how important the sit-stay is and what I mean by it and how serious I am about it and how serious I am about the recall. And then when we're done with all that and you're doing great, I'm going to show you how good you've been doing, and I'm going to show you that I appreciate you. We are going to play. We are going to go for a hike. I do love you. You're the best, but don't fuck with these boundaries. Want to know why, guys? Because this is what I love about dogs. I swear, this is what I love about dogs. They are natural. They are a little piece of the natural world in our living room. And everything that people complain about their dogs. My dog jumps, my dog pulls, my dog counter surfs, my dog is reactive on the leash. All these things is why I love them. And why you should love them too. Because they make it so that you have to come in touch with the natural world and the way it works in order to have control over them. Best place to watch training videos, IG or on YouTube. Probably YouTube, because YouTube has, we have like 6,000, it might even be 8,000 videos up now, way too many. But there's playlists. I have a playlist called Josh Talks that is basically just me talking like this, a bunch of videos like that. And then you can see do-it-yourself. So we have DIYs of how to do all this, how to train all these commands and stuff. But so YouTube's a good place. Julius Canine Academy on YouTube, all of it's on there. Again, but going back to movement, when we're going to teach our commands, come and stay to start, and then we'll get into sit and down and recall in place as well. We do it with state of mind training as well, meaning our expectation is not just the position, but it's also your mind. And you can see we have a lot of videos that will cover all this stuff over and over again. How to build the shush sound to mean calm. God, I love you guys' questions today. Basically, you can use any sound you want. The shush sound is very popular. It has origins in the dog whispering community. It's a nice sound because it's not loud. So if you're in public, then one of the best things about using the shush is if you're in public, you don't want to be walking down the street being like, no, No, knock it off. Hey, stop it. Everybody can hear that. It's kind of a show. You can simply go, shh. And the dog knows that sound, and this is how I do it. I'll answer that question, even though I did not plan on doing a video on this, but I'll answer it real quick. This is how I do it. I will take a situation where I will teach the dog recall first, and I can do that pretty quick on the tone, which means I can now put them in situations. Now I want to teach them calm, which is the shush command. I will let a couple dogs into the training room. This dog that I'm training will go up on them and likely make some mistakes. Now, I'm not saying aggression, but he's likely going to make some mistakes. They tend to. They'll try to hump. They'll be too rough. They'll do something that's inappropriate to one of my dogs nearly every time. That gives me justification to correct. Justification in the dog's mind where the dog understands why I'm correcting. Okay, I'm not saying justified morally. Okay, we're not going down that rabbit hole. I'm hoping we're past that and we understand that corrections are needed. All right, we're not saying, oh, is it right or wrong to be punishing a dog? We're past that if we're on my page. We punish dogs here because we know it's natural and it leads to a balanced dog who has a better life and a better temperament. So this dog makes a mistake with my dogs. Now what I do is I say, shh. I correct them and I recall them to me. And then when they get to me, I submit them. How do you submit a dog? That's a good question. That's a question that owners who are going to get a dog should be learning before they get the dog. Or at the very least, when they get the dog. Submission is a real thing. It basically means relax, hold still, and let me, if I was another dog, sniff you. So I will correct the dog before my dog corrects them. I will recall them, and then I will submit them. How do we submit them? You can go watch the videos on YouTube, and you can see me going through this ritual. But basically, if a dog is inappropriate with another dog, and I'm not around, that dog will correct the dog who's being inappropriate, and they will submit that dog if they're in a pack. Meaning they will go over top of that dog, and they will make sure that dog doesn't move. Every time it moves, it's going to get corrected again. It has to learn how to submit, which means just holding still, being passive, and letting the situation happen. So I will teach this dog to submit when it recalls to me. It makes sense to the dog because it was just in a social scuffle where it just got in trouble by one of my dogs. Usually my dog will gruffle or bark or something because the dog was being inappropriate. It understands why it's being corrected. I will put it on its side, and I will start touching it on its paws and on its tail, all these places they don't want to be touched usually. And anytime they try to get up, instead of being a dog and using my teeth and correcting them, I use the e-collar in the shush. Shh, e-collar stim, and then I'll use my body language to say, relax, lay down. Why is this important? What I do effectively at the end of this ritual is the dog realizes that the stim, the feeling of the stim paired with me saying, shh, means to relax, means to submit. The only reason I was able to explain that to him is because he's in a situation where he would have been submitted anyway by an actual dog. I just came in and took over that conversation so that I can get that association onto the e-collar stim. If this is going over your head, don't worry about it. It is kind of it's a kind of one of them kind of more advanced topics. But so basically the dog's on its side because I've placed them on their side and I'm touching them. And anytime they try to lift their head up, I'm shushing and tapping on the e-collar until they put their head back down. It effectively teaches them that my presence, the way I'm looking at you, the way I'm using my body, it's shushing at you, plus this stim means to submit. I did all that setup just so I could teach the dog that. I let them go up on my dog to make a mistake. I hoped they were going to make a mistake so that I could then correct them and submit them so I could show them what my methods are of correction, which is the e-collar and body language, and what the expectation is after a correction. So basically, post-correction, what do I need to do as the dog? Well, dog, post-correction, you need to submit just like you would to a dog. But humans don't tend to do that. They tend to, if they do correct properly, which is they don't, but if they do, they just walk away. You need to submit. Now what happens is a dog doesn't need this whole process to be submitted every time once you start doing this. It gets to the point where you correct them and they submit. It's what they do. It'll get to the point where you don't even correct. It'll get to the point where they'll start to do something wrong and they'll say whoops and they'll just submit. If you don't know what submission is, I definitely look into that because you need to be able to recognize when a dog is submitting to you and when they're not, so that you can correct when they're not when you're asking them to. So submission's big. It's a part of state of mind training. A dog who is submissive towards you They listen. And by the way, submissive doesn't mean scared of you either. There's a big misconception. It just means respect, that I can hold accountable. I can hold you accountable. But the submission does something very interesting that I don't think many people understand. It builds trust as well. Yes, it builds respect, but it builds trust. Here's why. Because animal to animal, I did not harm you when you came over to me. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm just disciplining you. Right? So they noticed that, okay, I submitted and he did not harm me. He let me right up. He pat me on the head. So this guy doesn't want to fight me. This guy doesn't want trouble. He just says, don't do that or this happens. Right? So with the submission, we get respect and we get trust and we get it like this and we can move forward. So I'm always submitting dogs early on in the process. It's part of the ritual of creating a follower. Recall, so that I know I can get the dog to me, which means I can continue a conversation. And I'm going to look for a reason to submit the dog, typically in a pack environment, so that they can learn, which is abstract to them, my way of correcting, which is the e-collar. They need to learn that. The best way for them to learn is to be put in a situation and worked through the situation a couple times until they don't need it anymore. We can't sit down and write all the rules on a piece of paper and say, read the rules. We have to show our dogs. Don't do this. This is what happens if you do that. Okay, can you do the recall on stim instead of tone? Multi-dog remote doesn't allow for both tone and stim on dogs, or tone really important? This is a good question. I'll tell you why tone's important for us. Tone is the only time that if you hear the tone, dog, and you feel the stim after the tone, it will always mean recall. It will always mean, this is what makes it simple for dogs. If you feel stim, by the way, look into my video on contextual e-collar work too, to get more about this. The dog learns that if you feel stim after you've heard the beep, it always and every time will mean recall. However, if you're in heel, if you're on place and you feel stim and you're not getting any direction from me, it probably means lay down and be quiet. It does mean lay down and be quiet. If you're, so if we're outside and I'm talking to somebody and you're sitting next to me and you start getting fussy and you feel stim, but I haven't said anything to you, it means lay down and be quiet. You could teach these dogs these things, right? So the reason why the tone is important because it leaves no doubt in the dog's mind that it's a recall. Now, if I didn't use tone, and I've run into this problem before, and I have my dog on a hiking trail, and he's so far away from me, he can't even hear me recalling him, and he's just feeling stim, there's a chance the dog will recall, but there's also a chance the dog will say, what does this stim mean in this context? Because I don't hear the command. Because the stim simply means to do, to comply with the command given. So we decided to use the tone because of that. Can you get away with teaching the dogs that this tone means on an outing, the stim means to come back to me? Sure you can. You can do that. You can do that. You can teach them that just the stim means to recall. It's just going to be a little more sloppy. It's not going to be as tight, where it's like, if my dogs felt the stim and they were in a field and they were 10 feet away from me, they would probably lay down because they didn't hear a tone, which means come towards me. So they're assuming that it means to hold still. So there's two types of commands: hold still or come to me. That's it. Hold still, which is sit down or place, or come to me, which is recall, and heel is really just an extended recall with a specific position. So it makes it easier on the dogs that when they feel stim and there's no tone, it's not a recall. It generally just means stop what you're doing and relax. If you hear a tone, it means stop what you're doing and come to me. That's why we use the tone, because it works so well. Can you do it? Can you teach your dog to recall to the stim without the tone? Yes, you can. But we do this so much because we're doing it professionally that we need a product that that works the best, that we can stay consistent, and the tone does that for us. And I know you can do recall on stim, but I just mean stim never using the tone. Yes, you can teach them that. You can teach them that, hey, when we're out on a walk or on a hike, if you feel that stim, I need you to turn around and look for me. At the very least, turn around and look at me so you can see hand signals. Stay, sit down, or come. Or you can teach them anytime you feel stim, it just means come to me and we'll go from there. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Would you use a whistle to be a good alternative if your remote can't do both? A whistle works if you can whistle well, if you can I don't have a good whistle. That won't carry very far. You can use any sound, scientifically speaking, you can use any sound to condition to mean anything, really. That's the beauty of the science. You could teach them that the whistle means it's time to eat. You could teach them that it means to recall. You could do whatever you want. For us, we're going to use the tone because we're on a program here, and I had to take my training and make it into a program so that I could be consistent. So, again, we're going to wrap this up. Movement. You get a dog in. Let's concern ourselves with movement. You're sitting in your living room and your dog just starts picking up and starts moving, walking all over the place, and you can't get it to settle. We have a problem. If somebody comes to the door and your dog goes past you and goes up to the thing that just came into the house, we have a problem. See, my dog doesn't do that. What my dog does, if he sees somebody come in, he looks at me like, what should I do? And then I say, go ahead, go up on them. Or I say, no, you stay here. That's not for you. This goes for people walking by the house, people coming in the house, cars, any noises outside. It teaches them, I choose how to respond. And if you try to take that from me, you have me to deal with. That's the pack hierarchy. That's the resource. I say I get first access to all the resources such as food and couch and blah, blah, blah. But I also get first access to decide how to respond. And if you try to take that from me, you're in trouble. Dogs can understand this. That's the beauty of them. So now it generalizes. Now it don't matter I don't care what situation I'm in with my dog Riggins. It doesn't matter. We could go to China and the rules I don't have to re-explain the rules because the rules are built into our relationship. It's like me and you are in a pack. We are a pack. I get first access. We know that because of our experiences. You agree that I get both. I get first access. I will take care of you. I'll give you all the love and all the food you need. Don't step on my toes. If we're on a walk, don't try to tell me where to go. If you see something you want on the walk and you're like, and you want to go, here comes the dog. Let me go decide how to deal with it. You're in trouble. Simply because you're trying to control my movements and you're trying to control how we deal with the situation. So you want to create a follower, take control of their movements, and once you have the movements, you have control of the movements, then you start putting them in situations that explain to them their role in your relationship. I can recall you. I can get you to stay. Let me show you what not to do when we walk and another dog comes by. Or let me show you what not to do when somebody comes to the door. Let me show you what not to do when I'm eating dinner. Let me show you what not to do in all these situations. And once you understand what not to do and you've given up on those and you're not interested in doing those anymore, let me give you an alternative behavior to do instead. That works really well versus trying to start with the alternative behavior and correct them for not complying to that. That doesn't work as well because the dog still wants to do the bad behaviors. Put a bad taste in the mouth. The dog won't want to do it anymore, no matter which one, whatever behavior you're complaining about. They don't want to do it anymore. Then show them the one to do. And the next thing you know, they appreciate that one because it keeps them out of trouble. I think this went long enough. I really appreciate you guys. I haven't been on here in forever, and here you do. Here you come. It's early. You come back. You put in the time to sit here with me. I really appreciate that. I am going to try to do more of these. I don't want to make any promises, but I do want to try to do more of these. I think it's helpful for people. It's helpful for me. When you get a dog, concern yourself about the movement and controlling the movement. You got to be able to recall your dog. You got to be able to have your dog to stay. And then once you have that, you're going to use setups to show them what not to do and what to do. And just a handful of experiences. We don't do that many different crazy experiences with our dogs, right? We chill with them in our house. And the biggest issue is when somebody comes over, so we know we got to work on that one. We got to be able to walk them, so we got to be able to show them what not to do on the walk. And what else do you do with them? Maybe a hike. It's not much. So control the movements by recall and stay, and then start putting them in situations where they struggle. Allow them to make the bad choice. Let them get the correction. Reset. See if they want to do it again. I guarantee you a couple reps down the road, they don't want to do it. Why is the recall important? Because if my dog leaves me to go up on another dog, they're allowed to. But they can get corrected and recalled, and I don't have to worry about them running away. They just simply did something that I didn't like. They got the correction. They got recalled. While they're recalled, I reset the environment, have the person walk away and walk back when I tell them to. So this dog learns real quick what choices it doesn't find valuable anymore. It doesn't find them valuable anymore. The dog doesn't want to do it anymore. The dog's not pushy anymore. They don't want to do it. They want to listen to you, because if I listen to you, we can maneuver through the situation smoothly. Okay? Appreciate you guys. I will try to do another one. Hey, do me a favor. Let me know what topics you want me to cover in depth so that I can have an idea of what's needed out there, because we could go in a million different directions. And I appreciate it. You can just leave it in the comments below once this video's uploaded, because I will upload it. Right now, we're not going to be able to see any of your beautiful comments because for some reason it doesn't keep the original comments when I upload it. So go on there and say, let me know what you guys want us to tackle, and we'll come on and do another long form one here and see how it goes. Okay? I appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful Sunday. Good luck this week with your dogs. If you're struggling with recall and stay, start with that. Once you have that, let's go tackle the problems of what our dog struggles with and break it down. Okay? I appreciate you guys. Enjoy your morning and have a good week.